Good morning, everyone. I'll welcome you all for this Learn from Home webinar series. And my name is Vimal Deva Prabhu. I'm the manager for CAD training and support. And today's topic is about conceptual modeling with marsing. Marsing. So, what is marsing? So, marsing in architecture refers to the general shape and form, and as well as the size of the building. It is an important architectural design consideration, as it creates the visual impact on the building. So massing influences the sense of space, okay, of your building. Not only that, it also defines both interior space and the exterior shape of the building. Massing, you can achieve massing by additive or subtractive methods. That's solids and voids. Okay, now in Revit, if you look at massing in Revit, so massing in Revit is the easiest way to create a conceptual 3D model of your building. There are two methods to create mass elements. The first one is in-place mass, and the second one is called as conceptual mass family. And we'll be going in detail with these two for today. Now, the in-place mass is something which you create within the project, okay? And the conceptual mass is basically a family file that you create and you can take it into multiple projects. Okay, as I told you, in-place mass. In-place mass is a mass element which is created within the project and it is constrained to the current project. And they can be further converted into the building elements. So let me quickly get into the demo of this, or maybe a quick workflow of what we are going to see. Now let me just open my Revit and I'll go with my new project. Okay, now we know that we have a couple of levels available for us here. And now let's say I want to create additional levels for my project. So let me just quickly get into my array and say I want to have an array of 9, 10 numbers maybe. So there I have different levels. Now let's say this is going to be called as my roof level. Okay. And now I just need to create the floor plans for this. So I'll quickly go into my view tab where I have the plan views and say I want to create the floor plans for them and yes. So it would have created the floor plans for it. Maybe if you want, you can also create your ceiling views for that. Let's go back to my view tab and say reflected ceiling plan and say from there. Okay, now I have my levels created. Now the next thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to create grids. Just for the reference, when we are doing a large scale projects or a very big project where I want to have the areas or the spaces that I'm going to use it. So I just create some grids for my reference. Okay, and then let me start working with the mass. So first, let us go with the grids. So I'll go with my grid here. I'll say I want to create a grid here. Okay. Now let me just select this grid using my copy and with constraint and multiple. Let me just quickly create additional grids here. Now let's say this is going to be 5 meter and another 5 meter. Maybe again another 5 meter here. Now let's say I want to have a 5.5 meter, then maybe a 6 meter. That should be okay. And now let me go back to 5.5 meter and maybe another 4 meter and another 4 meter. Now I have created few grids in one particular direction. Maybe if I want, I can just move and place them roughly so that it's within my view extents. Now let's start creating additional grids, the opposite sides, the grids. So let's say I want to create a grid here, and I want this grid to be named as A. Now using the same features of copy and multiple, I'll just go and say I want to copy this, or maybe I can use an array. Say I want to have 5 grids, okay, each at a distance of maybe 5 meters. So I have my grids created, okay. Now these are for my reference, which we are going to use while creating my mass model or mass element. Okay, now to create the mass, what we do is we go into the massing and site tab, and you can see that you have the controls here to create your mass, to convert them into your building elements, and to whether you want to say whether you want to have the display of your mass or not. So you have the features over here. So let's quickly go and see one by one and how it is going to work here on this. Okay. So here I'll say I want to create a mass in my project. So I'll start with my in-place mass. So automatically Revit shows a message saying that the show mass mode is enabled so that the mass that you create will be visible in all the views. Okay. So yes, I can say okay. And now it prompts a name for me for my building. So let me say this is going to be my main building, something. Okay. Now I have to start modeling my elements now. Yes. So here you can see that your entire ribbon bar is changed, and that is changed in accordance with your mass modeling. Now you don't have your walls, doors, windows, and other things here because those are for the building elements. Now we are going to work with mass modeling, a conceptual modeling. So it has just the create, then maybe the basic tools like dimensions and other things here. Okay, so let's start working with my model here. So I'll go with model. I'm going to create a model, and I'm going to create the model using a rectangle now. Now let's say I want to start it at A4 here, or maybe if I want to give some offset, yes, I can specify some offset values here, maybe an 1 meter offset from there. I think that should be okay. Yes, and I'll take it up to this. Now this is going to be my, the base model reference. Here you can see that it has created a rectangular shape. Now when I look at this, it's just a rectangle, and if you look at it from 3D views, it's again just a simple rectangle. But when you select this form, or when you select this geometry here, it prompts you to create a form. You can see that in your conceptual tab. So in the context tab, it shows you that create form. So here I can create the form of my mass using this reference rectangle. Now let's say I want to create a form, and here again I have two different options, a solid form and a void. Okay, a solid form is basically the additive process, and the void is the subtractive process. So for voids, you require a solid to be present before that. Okay, so let's start with the solid form here. So I'll go with the solid form, and you can see that it has created the solid for some extent or for some height, as we can see. Now let's say I want to control the height of my building model. So I'll just drag this in the Z direction, and I can align it to the level whichever I want. Now let's align it to this level or maybe to this level here, and I can constrain them using this law. And you can see that you have your axes here, that is X, Y, and Z axis, by which you can move around these surfaces, okay, and you can play around with that. Okay, now I'll show about that in detail in the later stages. Okay, now let's say I want to add a couple of more profiles to my building. So what I'll do is I'll come back to my level 1 once again. I'll say I want to create another model. Now this time I'm going to create a rectangle. or maybe a line where I'll say I want to have that to be 12.5 meter by maybe 12 meter, and I'll bring it back here and I'll close this. Now this is, I have drawn this using my lines, okay? Now I don't want this to be a rectangle once again because we already have a rectangle. Maybe if I want to change this, yes, I can choose any one here, delete it. Maybe I can add a different shape. Let's say I want to add a, arc where I want to start from here, end it at here, and maybe, yeah, this should be okay. Some radius I'll define here with this. Okay. Now, if I go back to my 3D, you can see that my profile is there. Now, if I want this to be converted into a mass once again, which has to be attached to the the building, so I'll just select this. Say I want to create a form once again, and this time again a solid form. And I can take this to the required height that I want. Maybe from view, let's push it up or take it up to some level here and then lock this. Okay. Now, if you can see this, in your 3D, it's something like this. You can use your consistent colors so that you can see the mass more clearly instead of looking at it in a more of a wireframe way. This gives you kind of a shaded, view. Okay. Now this is okay. Now let's say I want to add another one feature to my building. So let me go back to my level 1 where I want to add center and arc. This time I'll start the center point here and maybe I'll take it up to 8 meters from here and this. Now I just need a couple of lines which I have to start at this point and end here and end here. Now I know that this again is a geometry which I have created and I have to convert this into a form once again. Now let's say I want to create this also into a solid form and maybe once again I'll go back to my view, the front view, and take it to some level here and stop this. Excuse me. So we have created, a solid components or maybe say the additive elements. Now let's say I want to add some subtractive elements in this. Okay, so I'll go back to my level 1 where I want to create circle at this point here, maybe for a radius of 3 meters. Okay, now I'll go back to my 3D view where I'll be able to see the circle which I have created. Now I would select the circle and say I want to create a void form. And this void form is going to be going to act like an atrium for my building here. Okay, so I'll just go with my void form and I can see how I want the void form to be. Maybe like a dome or maybe a, a cylinder. So I would prefer a cylinder here and then I'll go back to my elevation views where I can control the height of this void by taking it up to this level. Okay, and let us say I want to lock it or maybe just I'll push it up, so in case later on I change my mind and change the shape and size of my buildings. Okay, so this is basically how I have created a mass with just couple of shapes, profiles, geometry or profiles or whatever it is you call it. Okay, so now let's see how I'm going to convert this into my building elements. So basically we have the mass created. Now let's say I want to convert them into my building elements. So first of all, I need to finish my mass here. So, and I come out of the mass modeling and I'm back in my project, features. So now in my project, when I select this, you can see that this is one single element now from where I can convert this into my building elements. So I'll go back to my massing insight. And so here you see the options of model by phase. It says, you have a curtain system, you can create a roof, you can create walls, you can create floors. Okay, now let's start creating a model. So here, first of all, I need to select this. and I need to reference my floors, or I have to create references for my flow plates. So I'll go with mass floors and say from level 1 to level roof, I want to create, or maybe not this level roof, up to level 10, I want to create floor plates or floor reference plates. You can see that it is created now. So, when you select anyone, you can see the floor perimeter, the floor area, the surface area, the volume, and in what level it is available. Yes. Okay, so this is a bit interesting. So you whenever you change the shape and size of these elements, so the areas and the other features also update along with it. And Revit is a parametric modeling tool, so it updates automatically on that. Right. So now let's start adding floors to this. So I'll say I want to create floor for my mass model. So I'll go with floors. I'll choose the style of floor that I want. Okay, maybe I'll just go with the standard generic elements as of now. And I would select all the references here and say I want to create floors. So once I do that, you can see that in your model, you'll be able to see that floors are created in this. Okay. Now let's start adding some walls and other elements. So I'll go with walls, and in walls, let me choose some standard sizes which I have here. Okay, and I'll say I want to sketch or create the walls on these phases here. So you can see that it automatically updates the walls. Okay, so this is it. Now excuse me. Now let's say I want to add some current system or the current walls or current glazing, so structural glazing as we call it. So let's go with current system, and I can create my own styles here by using edit type. Maybe I can duplicate them. So I want them to be like 1.2 meter by 2.5 meter. So I would say this is going to be 1.2 meter, and here it is going to be 2.5 meter. Okay, so now I would say I want to create a system on this face, and you can see that that is updated. Now for this curve here, I'm going to create a different system. So I'll go once again, edit this. So I want this to be like 0.6 meter by 0.6 meter. So these are very basic, things which I'm doing, but there are, a lot of things that you can do with this. So I would say I want to create system here once. So you can see that it has created these systems, the current glazing, the structural glazing. Now let's start adding some roofs to this. Okay, I'll go with roof once again. Okay, so I'll choose a generic type and say I want to create roof for this. And again, I'll select this, say create roof. Now let me select this, say create. Now you can see that I have created my model and I have completed it with building. Now the advantage of that is now whenever I open any level, I'll be able to see the floor plans, references in it, and I can start adding my inner spaces. So this is basically like form follows function. Sorry, the function follows the form. After the form is created, you start working with the functionality. Now, now let's go back here. Now let's say after I present this model to my client says he needs some changes. He needs, I don't want it, something like this. He wants some, changes to be updated on this, and we have to update them. Now let's quickly go into my visibility graphics where I would say I want to hide certain elements here, so that I can work on my marsing once again. So let's say I want to hide a couple of things. So here I'm viewing my mass model once again. So I'll just quickly go select it, say edit in place, where I'll be able to edit the mass again in place. Now let's say I want to select this edge of my mass model and I want to change the height of this edge alone. Yes, I'll be able to do it. Maybe I'll stop it at this point. Let's say remove the constraints. Okay. Now here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this shape, or maybe I'll just select this entire face here and say I want to scale that. Okay. With this point as reference, I want that to be scaled to 1.5 times with this point as reference. Now you can see that it is updated. Okay. Now I have done some changes in my model. Maybe I would take this edge once again and maybe take this edge to a height like this. Okay, there. Now, you know that I have done some changes in my building and I have, or in my mass model, and I'm going to finish this. Now let's go back to my, visibility graphics where I will turn back all the elements which I have turned off. Maybe the walls, the roofs, the floors, and your curtain systems and margins. Now you can see that the elements which we already created are not in line with the current mass element, right? So the building components has to be updated or changed. And to do that, we have a very easy option. Just quickly go and select your elements and say update to face. Okay. So just need to select your elements and say update to face. Yes. Okay, so let me do it one by one. Update to face, and you can see that it gets updated. So, okay, let me just delete this one. Let me add a new wall here. Sorry, to this surface. Okay, now let me just delete this once again here, and let me add the wall. Okay, that's sorry about that. It should have updated, but maybe I made some mistake while updating. Okay, now let's go back to this roof here and say update to face. Yes. This roof here, update to face. Yes, it's fine. Now I just need to select this, the current system here. And I would say I want that to be updated to face. And, you automatically get all the elements updated to your current phases, and that is there. So this is about massing, model in place or in place massing. Okay. So hope you understood this. Now let's look into the next, feature, what we have. So that is, sorry, the conceptual mass family. So in this method, what we are going to do is we are going to create a mass element. It is going to be created as a family component, and you can actually load it into any project and you can use it for your building elements. Okay, for this, let's quickly see. Or let's take a concept. Why should that be like more theoretical? Let's say more kind of a realistic one. Let's say I have a client who wants to build an aquarium, and that aquarium, I'm just creating the shape and size to be like a fish or something like that, a profile like that. Okay, so that is what you see in the screen. Okay, now let's quickly get into the demo part of this. Okay, for now, let me just close this one. And I would like to take this reference file here where I have created just a line. This I have started from the conceptual mass family here. So here you have the conceptual mass. So in that I have drawn a line and a spline profile, which I'm going to convert it into my building model. Okay, so here what I'll do is I'll quickly select this and the path. and say I want to create a form here, which is a solid form. And you can see that the form is created. Now, when you look at it in the front, it's like this. Maybe if when I look at it from my top view, it's something like this. Okay, I have a good profile now. Now, the best part here is when I select this, what I can do is I can add additional profiles. So the same profile can be added at different points. So the reason for that is, you'll be able to, create an X-ray view where you'll be able to edit each and every vertex, each and every edges, each and every phases here and this. Okay, now let's quickly start editing this one. So I'll go with my top view here, or before that, let me be in the front view. So as you know that I'm building an aquarium, so I want that to be like a fish. So I'll select this vertex here. You see the XYZ, axis, the arrows. So it's not properly defined. You can see that orange color here. So when the orange color comes, it's in a different axis. That's what it defines. Just need to use a space bar to get it aligned to the views. And what I can do is I can drag it. Okay. Now I'll get this one. Okay, now let me select this. I want to push it down here a little bit. I'll go with this vertex. I'll take it up. And not only taking it up, I'm just going to pull it slightly in this direction so that I get the shape of a fish. And maybe here, this vertex also, yes, I can just slightly pull it out so that it gives me a bit more, yeah. I think that should be okay. I get something like a form of a fish now. Okay, now let's go back to the top view and see how it is. Okay, I need to work on the body part or near the tail part of the fish. So I'll just go select this part here, this vertex here, and I'll push it slightly inside. Okay, that should be fine. Now let me select this and I want to move it a little bit here. Okay, so now I have a detailed here. Okay, maybe if I remove the X-ray here, I'll be getting the shape once again. And I think this is pretty good. Okay, so let's see what else I can do with this conceptual masses. So once you have a conceptual mass, profile or the mass element is created, maybe I can, edit the surfaces directly here, and I can take them and use them in my project. So for example, if I want this entire surface or this part of my building to be completely glazed, and instead of doing that in my project, I'm going to define the glazing or the sizes, the profiles, everything here in the massing itself. So here you have an option of divide surface. So just quickly go and say divide surface here. And you can see that it shows you the U grids and the V grids. Either by number or by distance, I'll be able to control them. Maybe I'll say I want to have an 8 feet distance here. And once again, in this, I want to have 8 feet distance. So, so you can see that, the shape or the surface itself is divided now. Okay. Now it's basically divided into U and V grids. Now let's say I don't like straight, current walls, or maybe I don't want that current system to be rectangular. Maybe I want to have different shapes. I want to have different profiles here. Yes, what I can do is I can quickly go and say I want to have a shape like this, arrows. Maybe yes, this looks pretty good. Okay, but let's change it to something else and see how it looks like. Maybe an again. Mm, okay, let's take it a bit like this. Okay, so this looks pretty interesting, and what I can further do here on this is I can create my complete glazing here itself. Instead of creating it just as a structure, I can create them as a pattern, and that pattern can be a component itself. So here I have a rectangular, or sorry, a triangular panel. a glazing panel which I have created as a family, which we'll talk about in later sessions, how creating families and the components. Okay, so you can see that that's getting updated into my project. Sorry, into my mass model here. So just give it some time. So let's see how it is going to come up. So, it takes some time in regenerating the glazing, the mullions and every element on the structural glazing. So that's why it's taking some time. So once it's done, maybe you would be able to see the shape and size, how it looks like. Yeah, maybe we can have a different views in this. Yeah, I think that's sorry. Yes. Sorry about the delay because I know sometimes this happens because it has a lot of glass and the components, glass components, and the mullion profiles are also there, which has to be created in this. Yes, it's created now, and yeah, it looks fine. So now when I have a closer look at it, you'll be able to see that it has the mullions. You can see the glass panels. So that's uh, pretty cool. Okay. Now let's go into see a camera view. Go and see it in a camera view. Yes. So this is my conceptual mass family. Yes, I can save it as give it a name and save it and take it into my project using load into project. Maybe I'll just show you that also. Let's say I'm having a new project. I want to go with a new project, an architectural project here. Yes. And let's say this model, I want to load it into my project. Yes. And in my project, yes, I want to enable that. That's fine. Now here it is. Now I'll just click at some point here to place them. Okay. Now when I go into my 3D view here in my project, so in my project, I have this, and you can see that my structural glazing is predefined. Now the other areas, yes, and the levels, yes, if I want, I can create additional levels to my building. I can add additional levels. Then I can have, sorry, I can add the other faces, maybe like walls or whatever it is that you want to do. You can do that. And hope this, the concept of using massing in Revit. Hope you all understood the concept. And any questions, please update them in the chat, and we'll be available to answer you in that. And not only that, I have put my contact details here in case you want to get in touch with me directly. Also, you can get in touch with me directly, and I'm glad to help you out on this. Thank you.